read all about it. Get your copies while they last. Stop the presses.
And now for something completely different.
Are you ready for a little truth? Are we not entertained? Wisdom is the proper use of knowledge and experience. There are no safe spaces here. The truth shall make you free. It's showtime! So you want the truth, but can you handle the truth? Well, here's another fine mess you've gotten us into. Now that's entertainment. Enlighten me a little. What you say is quite logical. And what did we learn? Prepare yourself for a little sensory overload. I came here for the truth. 7 years ago, stand by the roll show intro. Roll show intro in 3, 2, 1, go.
This is the Craig L. Hayes Show.
Hello, America, friends, family, listeners all around this planet we call home. This is the Craig L. Hayes Show. I am Craig L. Hayes. Today's date is June 12th, 2024. And today's topic that we're going to discuss is a continuation of the Bill of Rights. We're now on to amendment number VI, or 6, for those that don't know Roman numerals. So we're going to read through it just real quick like we've been doing, and then we're going to go and take it a section at a time and a piece by piece and just discuss it a little bit. I am not a law professor. I am not blessed with the ability to have gone to law school and become a constitutional lawyer, but I am someone who thinks logically, rationally, and with reason, and can understand simple things that were written and then apply them, simple things that were written hundreds of years ago, a couple of hundred years ago, and then apply them to today's issues. Really not that difficult if you're not looking for an agenda to push or an ideology to brandish. Anyways, let's read the 6th Amendment. In all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall have the right to a speedy and public trial by an impartial jury of the state and district wherein the crime shall have been committed, which district shall have been previously ascertained by law, and to be informed of the nature and cause of the accusation, to be confronted with the witnesses against him, to have compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in his favor, and to have the assistance of counsel for his defense. Wow. Hard time seeing this morning. So let's start with the first part of it. In all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial by an impartial jury of the state and district wherein the crime has been committed. Okay. Boy, we can go on a couple things on this one, and it's not going to be that difficult to pursue. A speedy trial. Does that mean that this trial has to happen within a couple days, a couple weeks, a couple months, whatever? Well, that is the process that goes before the court between the prosecution and your attorney to decide how long each side is going to take to present and prepare to present their case and their witnesses and the evidence and everything that's going to go for both sides, and they have to come to an agreement how long that's going to take. Now, let's look at it something very simple. January 6th. What happened January 6th? Oh, yeah, a supposed and BS insurrection at the Capitol. Well, let's look at what happened. A couple radicals decided to bust down some doors and take a walk around inside the Capitol, do some damage. Now, those people should have the hardest and most rigorous punishments inflicted on them for doing any such thing. But if all you did was walk around the Capitol and you didn't go through the proper screening system, because we have to have that now in this day and age. I remember going there when I was 15 years old and walking around the Capitol. You didn't have but a couple of security and Capitol police walking around just keeping an eye on everything. You didn't have to go through metal detectors, searched, and have your bags looked in, blah, blah, blah. It was a different time in 1978. Today, we want people to go through the metal detectors, be searched, make sure they're not carrying any weapons that could be used against anybody that's doing the people's business inside the Capitol. So, if you don't go through the process that's been specified, then you are trespassing and you are in violation of the laws or the policies that have been put in place to protect our elected officials. You should be charged with trespassing and violating those laws, and probably at the most you're going to get is going to be, a month in jail, a fine, or something to that effect. There are still people sitting in the jails, prisons, whatever you want to call them, in Washington, D.C., still awaiting their trials, going on 4 years. 4 years for a trespassing. 4 years for violating the process and the procedures of going into the Capitol. How can that be right? How can that be allowed? How can we not say that these people's rights have been violated? To the Sixth Amendment right has been violated. But the government doesn't care. It's a political scheme. It's a political, what do you want to call it, activity, so they can show that there's bad people out there trying to overturn the government. Yeah. Well, if they were really trying to overturn the government, and my side, the side on the right, the constitutional conservative people on the right, really wanted to overthrow the government, we would. We don't, because we love our country. We love the Constitution. We want it upheld. We want it to be enforced. Unlike the left, the Democrats, who are evil, who are communists, socialists, Marxists, fascists, anti-American, hate the Constitution, hate this country, just like the Islamists. Those are the people that we're against. Those are the ones trying to overturn the government. Those are the people that want to destroy this nation and put in place a Marxist, communist dictatorship, just like China has, or just like North Korea, or just like Venezuela, or Cuba, or any other dictatorship around the globe. And they will take and abuse these constitutional amendments, the sixth, every chance they get. So, with that being said, we watched President Trump go through a couple things recently. And here's the part that we have to take and understand that's been abused on him. We've already seen that his First Amendment had been taken away. His Fourth Amendment, privacy of his records by having his lawyers grabbed and their phones searched and their records searched. No such thing as client attorney privilege when it comes to Democrats. Only if they have some kind of issue do they get to enjoy that. If you're a Republican, you don't get to enjoy that. A judge will somehow miraculously find that you're not entitled to that. If I sound annoyed, I am. I'm annoyed that the Democrats, remember, it's the Democrats, the entire party, not just the party, the entire party is evil and wants to destroy this nation. Let's move on to the next part of this thing. Which district has previously ascertained by law to be informed of the nature and cause of the accusation? Well, we just watched President Trump. Here's another violation of his Sixth Amendment. He went through a whole trial, and it was never mentioned until closing arguments what supposed crime he had committed. And when it was announced, it was a federal crime, supposedly. Had to do with campaign election law. Federal election law. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but how does a state court assume the authority from the federal government to prosecute a federal crime? I'll wait for just a second. Oh, no one answered. That's right, they can't. That's a violation of his rights again. And then to tell people, oh yeah, by the way, in closing arguments, he violated this law, and that's why we're actually doing all this stuff. So that's why we're coming after you. Thank you for telling us in the last day of closing arguments of what this was all about. See, such disgusting people. The Democrats, their party, they are disgusting. They are evil. They will use anything they can, destroy your rights, to find a way to stop you from stopping them. And then you have to have a jury of your peers, as we call it, or as they would call it. Oh, let me find this. Excuse me. Just for a second. Oh. I know it was here. Oh. Impartial. They call it impartial jury. We have changed that a little bit to a jury of your peers. Now let's look at President Trump, what he went through. He was forced to have a trial in New York with a crazy left-wing prosecutor, a crazy left-wing district attorney, and a judge who just openly disdained him and was going to take and make sure he was found guilty no matter what. Was President Trump allowed to have anybody that was Republican on that jury? No, they had to be Democrat. Was he allowed to have anybody that was a politician that had run as a Republican? No. A businessman who was Republican? No. Was he allowed to have anybody whatsoever who was actually a constitutional conservative, as he tries to be, to take into to listen to the evidence and decide if it was going to go forward? No. They all had to be crazy Democrats that hated Donald Trump for some reason. I don't think he'd ever done anything to them, but because the television had told them, if you're a Democrat, you have to hate this man, they went along with it. That's what this judge called a jury of your peers, or impartial jury. Even though they were asked, can you be impartial? And they're like, oh, yeah, I can be impartial. I hate this guy, but I'm still going to be impartial. Okay, well, that's so much for your impartiality. And as far as witnesses against you, there was no witnesses against him. Unless you call a prostitute, a porn star who went on and on and on about nothing in violation of his constitutional rights, to where all this was just garbage witness that had nothing to do with the actual case, went on for hours. I think the judge was a little bit of a pervert myself too, this Juan Merchant. He just liked hearing all these details. Kind of creepy guy, as most Democrat judges are. And he let a guy who's a known liar, Cohen, go on and on and on and basically indict himself. The only person we know that committed a crime was Cohen, his former lawyer. But that didn't matter. We had to find President Trump guilty. So another part of the Sixth Amendment was violated. Now here's the one that's the best. To have a compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in his favor. President Trump had lots of witnesses, even the former head of the Federal Election Committee that oversees all campaign finance laws. He was not allowed to testify. The judge decided he wasn't allowed to testify and explain what the actual law was that they were trying to prosecute him for. Violation of President Trump's rights again. So it wasn't just a simple Sixth Amendment. It's several parts of the Sixth Amendment were violated. I'm using President Trump as this because he's the one that's the spear point on all this stuff. He's the first one, the big one. And once they get away with it with him, they're going to come after every single person who doesn't agree with their crazy ideology, because Democrats cannot have any resistance. Because if they have any resistance and anybody actually uses their brain, uses their reason, uses logic, their whole argument for their policies and their ideology falls apart. They have nothing that can help them or support them in anything that they believe. And this is another part. And to have assistance of counsel in his defense. You are entitled, remember we talked a little bit about the Miranda rights. So part of the Fifth Amendment speaks about you don't have to talk to the police if you don't want to. When you're being arrested, they're explaining you have the right to remain silent. You have the right to an attorney if you cannot afford one. This is part of the Sixth. You have the right to the assistance of counsel, and one will be appointed if you cannot afford one. So important to have this. See, the actual Constitution, it binds itself with each other. All these amendments will work with each other to ensure that you are free, to ensure that your rights aren't violated, and that a state that is rogue under this president and a corrupt injustice department cannot take and throw you in prison for the rest of your life just for standing up to them. Because that's where we're at right now. Disagree with me all you want, but the proof is out there. All you have to do is actually open up your eyes and not listen to the TV that tells you who to hate. Exercise your rights, exercise your freedoms, exercise your liberties. The whole point of this is to help you to understand these rights a little bit better. I hope that as we keep going through these constitutional amendments in the Constitution, that somehow you understand that the individual is the most important thing in the Republic. Your individual rights, your right to choose who you want to represent you, your right as explained in all 10 Bill of Rights, in the Bill of Rights, excuse me, all 10 amendments of the Bill of Rights. I knew I'd get it out there in a second. Please read these constitutional amendments and learn how they apply to you. So when you're faced with an oppressive government agent, it could be the police, it could be a district attorney, it could be a prosecutor, it could be someone from the Department of Justice, it could be any one of these people. You know how to stand up to them and stand up for your rights. Do not allow your rights to go by the wayside. Stand up, stay strong, learn them, and use them. And we call them exercise your rights. You have a lot of rights guaranteed under the Constitution. Exercise them. Well, that's it for today. This is the Craig L. Hayes Show. I am Craig L. Hayes, and I'm looking forward to our next little meeting, and it will be the 7th Amendment. Bye for now.